G'day guys, I'll actually knock out the first, I think 7 or 8 it is, and then come back with the last 2. Should have them out before the first anyway, but just want to get these ones out and finalise everything as soon as I can. Talking about the track, I see they've changed it to an 8. Expecting it to be on the better side of an 8 from what I've heard, but there is damage to the track which makes it difficult to predict if there'll be lanes or anything like that. But setting up with a pretty fair track in mind, as in I think 8 metre rail, you'd expect just off speed with cover to be the place to be. Leading could be okay. The fence potentially could be okay, but I expect them to get 3 or 4 off. Ideally, I think that 11-12 metre position is the ideal spot to try and get to. Will anything try and slingshot to the outside? Unlikely, I think, with the drying conditions. But certainly keeping an eye on everything just in case. But as I said, sort of setting up with pretty fair to on-pace advantage. Running line should be okay. Maybe a bit of a worry trying to come from back and inside, but we'll keep an eye on it. We saw a track like Hawkesbury during the week where the outside was no good, so you actually had to make ground tracking up underneath and coming through the middle, and that's possible with the way these tracks are drying and wear and tear to certain parts of tracks. It makes it very difficult to sort of predict, but that's what we've done in mind. Sort of kept in mind a pretty even track to start the day. First race, the highway, not a bad race, but very difficult to sort of line a lot of them up there. A lot of them are going quite well, but in poorer grade and coming up in grade. And then you've got a horse like Mr. Hustle, who's coming back from country championship grade, and then you've got a different horse down here called Sparring, he's won a 900 metre maiden impressively, then went to 1,000 at Sandown, ran well, then went again, ran 1,000 at Sandown and ran okay. Now comes here 6 days later, going to 1,200 metres, first time it's seen a soft track. 4th run, first prep, only had the 1 trial back in January, but it's been up for a while now, and not easy to line it up probably, I would imagine. So probably going to be against it today at the price. I think $3 is well and truly short enough. Can it win? For sure. Map wise, it looks a high pressure race. You've got speed right across the board, inside, outside, and horses in the middle that want to find positions. I'm a little bit worried Mr. Hustle might get too far back, but still have to be with it. Also, we haven't seen this track and seen how it's going to play, but keeping in mind that this sort of position has played pretty fair in the past, and there does look good pressure here, and not too many horses that run the trip super strong. Expecting it to run well. There are knockouts, as I said. Sparring's got good form. Orbital Express jumps back from a mile to 1,200. Got a speed to suit last start, and it'll be last here, but it's a dangerous horse, always is. Boom Boom Basil's first up, can run well. Lucky Sham won first up, 29 days between runs. Maybe a little bit dicey for it. Not a big fan of Boncassi. I like how this horse Delavan's going. Thought it was ridden pretty poorly last start and still won. Dominant at the start before that. Has to run 1,200 metres here. That's the query. But just the way he's winning and finding the line, and he just keeps coming. I think Delavan's very scary. Whatever I say is sprinted off 2 slow tempos to win at Port Macquarie its last 2. You could argue that a stronger tempo here may suit it, but hasn't seen a soft track, even though the track official track conditions were slow or heavy a couple of times when it's run. They weren't. They were, it was a 3.6 and a 3.2. So it hasn't seen a wet track yet, whatever I say. Hasn't seen a fast tempo and performed well. So that's what I'm scared of. But I wouldn't be surprised if it wins here. I just think it's well up in grade and got those queries against, and that's why I'm a little bit against it. Price-wise, talked about Orbital Express. Both factors solid, but short enough. Mark or Dream is not a horse I like. Needs things to go right its way. Can win, but needs everything to go its way. Scared of Brazen Impact because of the stable, but not really of its form. Cracking Mo certainly comes up in grade here and has to find a little bit more, but he's going well and the stable's flying. I just feel that they're going to go quite quick here, and the only horse that I could entertain backing is Mr. Hustle, because we're getting a little bit of price about it, and it should be strong. Like that it's back in distance, like that it's back in grade. Only goes up 2.5 kilos, and apart from where you're not knowing where it's going to be in the run, ticks a lot of boxes here. Mr. Hustle in race 1. Race 2. Not as much tempo, but they do look like they'll go along a little bit early. A few horses drawn wide that'll push forward. Thought there were two clear chances here. One, you're more likely of knowing where it's going to be in the running contributing factor. I'm assuming they roll forward a touch and try and find an on-pace position. Really would like it to go forward with Highly Desired and Zorro Cat and try and slot in. Think it runs very well from there. Its 2 runs back have been really good. Excuses and stronger grade too. Think it runs really well. The other horse that I'm scared of is Mahogany. Thought they might actually save this horse for tomorrow, but interesting to see they've gone around here. 28 days when it runs, no problem. Where it gets to in the run is a little bit of a problem. Can see it being closer to last than first, that's for sure, and having to circle them. I think the horse will run very well, especially if you can run on, and especially if you can run on wide. And again, it's only race 2, so it's very hard to determine that. But I think this horse will. I think it's got something more than midway in it, that's for sure. Mahogany and contributing factor does as well. Horses that can improve, Highly Desired pulled up with an injury last start. Still think it's a little bit vulnerable here. A few horses with better turns of foot. French Bonnet, another horse that failed first up, can improve. Straw was just okay first up, but always, dangerous horse, has shown very good ability at times. Zorro Cat 2 complete forgives. A strong 1200 here, having to work early again is the query. 1400, sorry, is the query. But wouldn't surprise. I think it's close enough to its right price. I like the horse, and that's about it really. I like contributing factor and Mahogany. Wish they were a little bit better odds. If they were sort of $7 and $8, I think they'd be a good 2-horse play here. Probably right on their limit considering they've got a few map issues. But the right jockey on contributing factor, and I think Mahogany's going well as well. So they're the 2 for me in race 2. Race 3, Frank Packer Plate. Go through these a bit quicker now. Straight Aaron, completely dominant last start, slow tempo. That's the problem here for me, where this horse gets to in the run again, because it's way up in grade here and there is no speed. Lukey Luke, Morris Me Dad, maybe. We've got War Eternal with the blinkers on as well, probably comes across. And it should be Lukey Luke that takes it up. Inverell maybe pushes forward, but this horse in Straight Aaron does look to be last, and even though it can sustain a run, it's going up to 2,000 metres now. If something skips a little bit early, this horse hasn't seen those sorts of conditions before, having to sustain a long run at 2,000 metres in this grade. So a little bit scared of $1.85. I think I marked at $2.60, and it's certainly the one to beat, but worried about where it's going to be in the run from a betting perspective. Thought Lukey Luke was the horse on the up and was a little bit of value. The price was sort of sniped on Wednesday as soon as they went up $16, $17, so there's not much value there now, but I think he's the horse that maps really well and got fresh legs and on the up, whereas War Eternal and Morris's Me Dad are a little bit beaten up by a tough preparation. If they're thriving on that could be a good thing. They could keep plugging away, and they do look like they're going to be in good challenging positions. I'm certainly not knocking them at $13 and $14 respectively. Paternal can also improve off a complete failure last start where it pulled up with an irregularity, and Raging Bull has been backed early but can improve as well. Thought its run in the Derby was quite good for this. Interesting race. Straight Aaron, certainly the one with flashing light all over it, but beware taking short odds for a horse that maps in its position, and they're not pushovers this week compared to last week where they completely were, but the performance still had a lot of merit in it. Straight Aaron. Race 4, no time at all on this one. Fireburn should win. Can overcome slow tempos, fast tempos. A mile is a little bit of a query, getting deep into its prep, but still only 4th up this time in. Only had a short break, but still looks to be thriving on its work. She's Extreme, 460, finds itself second pick. Thought Williamsburg is the one that's up against it, just going up a little bit in grade, but it is hard fit, and the others, even the small field probably adds a bit of X factor to them. Let's roll the dice and count the headlights. Helps them be a little bit closer in the run, but they both probably need to improve significantly to overcome the turn of foot of Fireburn, who finds itself in this race. Espiona, another horse that's very short here. The draw certainly helps it position up a little bit closer because, again, we've got a race with no speed. We've got Lady Luck, who can run well. Thought it was ridden a bit quiet the other day and just let them catch up and one paced to the line. I thought it could improve here and run a race at odds. Capostel's the nearest horse on paper to it in the run, and it's limited. So I think Lady Luck can run well at odds. Festival Dancer, I would expect, will roll a little bit closer to the speed here first up, and that's its chance in the race. Espiona, as I said, you would expect it to try and hold a more forward position. The two horses that are scary are Party for One and Comrade Rose. Both are both coming out of the same slowly run race behind Heresy last start, and they both have a nice turn of foot. Not suited there. Again, are they suited here? That's a problem. Then can they get past a horse by Espiona, who should be in front of them in the run, unless there's any changes of tactics I'm unaware of. Just check those now. Because they sort of do come through slowly. So count the headlights to be ridden further forward. It's a weird one. Doesn't make much difference. So there we go. Espiona, the one to beat. Queries are coming off a failure, 35 days between runs. Haven't seen it at the trials. This is much easier. Gets the jockey, the track firmer, the barrier. A lot of and the class drop obviously too. So a lot of positives today for Espiona. You've just got to overcome that. Bit of a failure last starting, much stronger grade, was given an average ride, and the problem is you take getting $1.85 for the pleasure, but very hard to beat if it's on song. But there are serious horses in the race, in Party for One in Comrade Rosa, who are going well enough and have a nice turn of foot to be dangerous. And Zalady Luck, as I said, could get on speed and keep plugging without surprising. Whew. Big Parade gets just full control here. Does scare you sometimes when a horse looks to get this much control, like it just leads, walks, and does whatever it wants. Count to Rupee coming off 2 forgives, but still needs to show more. Signor Fox coming off a complete, like a soft, weakish run and has to improve significantly. Gem Song comes out of a race where it was completely, not flattered, but suited by the tempo, and because it was first up there, you'd expect it to improve. I doubt that it pushes forward. If it does, it's probably a better thing for it. I'd expect Trumbull more likely and Gem Song to drop back. I think the horse that's dangerous is the Big K, Special K. He trialled up very, very well, even though it was a 740 synthetic trial. Very hard to run on powerfully there, and he did it just like under his own steam. He looks very fresh and ready to go. I think he's the danger to Big Parade. JRA Plate. Keen on 2 horses here in Maroney and Polly Gray. I will show the replay quickly just to show why. Maybe I won't.
With Yonkers going forward, and Yonkers is the last to move in. There's the light.
So what I like here, they went very quick here, and Maroney sort of did have to work quite hard. As you see, like the first 400-500 metres of the race to get outside the leader, still 3 wide there, only gets in at this point, and now sits outside a strong tempo. Mount Bopper and Polly Gray sat behind it and had nice runs. This horse was only second up here, and battled on quite strongly, I thought. Drying track looks to be beneficial to this horse. It has got soft form, but better, in the slow range. So 77, then 21 days last start, and now should get a really soft run on speed, and you'd expect it to peak. I think it runs very well. Polly Gray, who beat it home there, should get a nice run again here too. Should roll forward and get a soft run on speed, and should run well also. So I think they're the 2. I think Ice Bath, very short, up to 2,000 metres, probably going to be back again. And even if it beats you, it's not a horse that I could ever take $2.70 about. So I think, up in the weights, 59 kilos, getting back and having to run down 2 pretty solid stayers in Polly Gray and Maroney, who are tested at this distance and coming off a run at this distance. I think they're the 2 I'd rather back if I'm betting in this race rather than Ice Bath, and I'm giving the clear nod to Maroney, just with a little bit more upside this preparation and the 5.5 kilo weight swing on Polly Gray for the last start run. All Age Stakes, which is the last race I'll do of this preview and then come back, is probably one of the tougher races of the day. Another tactical affair. You've got In the Congo, who's no doubt going to try and bluff him for the lead and take it up. How hard horses like Forbidden Love, Tefane, and a myriad of others, Ellsberg, Sierra Sioux, Overpass, Almeida, want to work to hold a position is the key to this race. If In the Congo controls from in the front, it's going to be very, very hard to run down on the 7-day backup. Looks like it's going to peak here and run well. I think Forbidden Love is destined to work hard in the run no matter what. I think that's going to make life very difficult for her, even though she's racing really well. I'd rather find stalkers like Sierra Sioux and Overpass, Law of Indices at odds. And then you've got to obviously worry about Moanga, but it will be back in the field. So interesting how the track's playing here. It'll have an effect on the tempo of the race, I'm sure, and certainly the outcome. But if you can run on and they go quick. Mo'unga's, very, very obvious as the horse that can run on. But I think there's better value in horses like Sierra Sue, Overpass, Law of Industries, and even Cascadian pinching runs up the inside if that's possible to do. So if you can track up underneath a bit more like a Rose Hill and then try and pinch runs through the field, I think there's better value in the race than Mo'unga, and I think in the Congo's the one to catch. So an open race and certainly a good betting race. You just probably know more by about race 4 or 5 with how the track's playing to how you want to play this race. Because if it's down the middle of the track, Mo'unga probably finds itself. If it's on pace in the Congo, it gets any sort of control, it'll run well. And if you need to sort of cut up underneath them, there's some good value in Sierra Sue, Overpass, Law of Indices, and I think Cascadian's probably short enough, but is dangerous. All right, I'll come back with more. Thanks, guys.